And I stopped drinking soda, and just by not drinking soda, I lost about a third of what I weighed, you know.
We have an explosion of obesity. That's probably the most conspicuous symptom of the nutritional crisis occurring in America. But the obesity is only just part of it. High consumption of sweeteners like high fructose corn syrup has quite adverse metabolic effects. And what we see in our long-term studies is higher risk of type 2 diabetes as well.
Hello.
Hi.
Kurt and Ella.
Farida Khan. Nice to meet you.
Diabetes essentially means that your blood sugar level in the blood is higher than what your pancreas can control and keep in the normal range. 1 in 8 New Yorkers have diabetes, which either is diagnosed or they don't know if they have diabetes and they remain undiagnosed.
Like, it's not like any other disease that we have where we just give prescriptions and that's the end of it, because it's not something that goes away.
Diabetes is a disease and obesity is a disease which is strongly linked to the environmental factor of food and exercise. What is the cheaper food for people? Okay, I think cost has a lot to do what people buy. The cheaper food is really not a healthy food.
And the main thing is sodas. Soda is liquid candy. And people think they're quenching their thirst drinking a glass of soda, but there you have a big, amount of sugar that you're drinking.
In a recent analysis, we found that drinking 1 soda per day on average almost doubled the risk of type 2 diabetes compared to only occasionally having a soda beverage or not at all.
My dad, he had a pain in his toe for over 6 months, and he found out he was diabetic that way. And they cut his big toe off. And before my father died, it went from his toe to his foot to below the knee to above the knee, and then he wanted to start cutting on the other leg. My dad said no, that was enough, and he just gave up. My mom died a direct result of diabetes. My grandmother died a direct result of diabetes. My sister Madeline, she's been a diabetic for years. I was recently diagnosed with diabetes. We don't think of what we're putting into our system. We don't really think about it.
By the end of September, we'd been corn farmers for almost 9 months. It was becoming clear that our acre wasn't just a game for seeing where food came from. We were growing an actual crop. It was destined to be eaten by actual people.
If you take that meal, you take that McDonald's meal, you don't realize it when you eat it, but you're eating corn. Beef has been corn-fed. Soda is corn. It's all high fructose corn syrup. That's the main ingredient. Even the French fries, which are, half the calories in the French fries come from the fat that they're fried in, and that fat is liable to be corn oil or soy oil. And so when you're at that McDonald's, you're eating Iowa food. Everything on your plate is corn.
Three weeks from harvest time, we could see that the agriculture our great-grandparents had helped build was now growing fast food.
Al. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Come on in.
Right.
Well, how are things going for you guys? How did your crop come out then?
Well, we haven't harvested it yet, so we don't know how much
What the yield is?
what the yield is and stuff. But it from as far as I can tell, it looks like everybody else's corn. So
Yeah, it's standing up.
it's standing up and it's kind of yellow and hard. And I think our problem is figuring out what we want to do with it once we harvest it, because we've been out figuring out where it could go, and none of our options seem particularly attractive. And I'm not terribly impressed with.
And you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Should be impressed at the stupidity. We aren't growing quality. We're growing crap. Poorest quality crap the world's ever seen. We're growing it today.
You don't eat the corn that you grow.
No.
Not saying that I might not grind up a little bit for some cornmeal, but I basically don't.
I don't necessarily grow my corn for food. I don't care what's done with it. I'm selling it. It's the bottom line.
You don't think we have enough corn?
We've got lots of corn.
Two weeks before harvest, the price for a bushel of corn at the elevator was $1.65. We had spent $142 to rent the acre, and with $133.24 for seed and chemicals, and $74.68 to rent and run the equipment, our total costs added up to $349.92. But even if we got a huge yield, like 200 bushels, we would only get paid $330 from the elevator, a loss of $19.92.
It looks like we may lose money growing and selling this corn,
Oh, yeah.
but we might make a little bit.
But you'll make money off the government. And that's what it's all about. Well, see, you probably only had half of your initial payment. You get that, then you'll get a countercyclical payment, and now you're going to get a loan deficiency payment. It's the government payments that are keeping the guys going, and it ain't the value of the crops.
How much money do you think comes into Greene every year from the federal government?
Oh, it's by far the largest industry in Greene, by far. But if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't see the crops planted out here neither. You wouldn't be raising 11 billion bushels of corn.
Our $19.92 loss was going to be offset by a $28 direct payment from the government and several other subsidy payments that we hadn't even known about.
We happen to have a kind of subsidy system, and we haven't always had it, only for the last 30 years or so, that rewards the overproduction of cheap corn.
Corn is the crop we've spent the most money on over the past 10 years. And so we've got mountains of grain all over the Midwest because the subsidy programs keep the production going full blast.
All that cheap surplus corn goes somewhere, and in fact, a lot of it's going out into our bodies.
There is a role that the subsidies have played in making the raw material available for an overweight society. We subsidize the Happy Meals, but we don't subsidize the healthy ones.
There's a very specific history to this. I mean, how we got to your acre in Iowa. You really do have to go back to Earl Butz and the revolution in farm policy that happens in the 1970s.
What we want out of agriculture is plenty of food, and that's our drive now. This year, 1973, we're going to see the most massive increase in production of farm products ever in the history of this country. And next year, we're going for a still further increase on top of that as we pull all stops.